Hello everyone and welcome to this session. It is a delight to be with you all and to introduce this session, A Great Turning, Awakening to a New Reality. And this is part of our virtual gathering of holistic centers. And it is my honor to introduce you to Dr. Ariyaratne, the founder and president emeritus of Sarvodaya Shramadana Movement of Sri Lanka. And here with his daughter, Dr. Charika Marasinghe, human rights and child rights lawyer by profession, lifetime volunteer of Sarvodaya, a trustee of Vishva Nikatan International Peace Center, which is a spiritual arm of Sarvodaya. I'm Christine. I'm the executive director of the Holistic Centers Network, who are hosting the gathering, and I'm here at Findhorn in Scotland in the Highlands of Scotland. And I'm just so grateful to be connecting with you both from Scotland to Sri Lanka. And Charika, we've met in person a few times when you've joined us for the gathering, the center's gathering in person.
Yes.
2018 at Omega and 2019 last year at Hollyhock. And I love your suggestion now that we're meeting virtually this year in this time of the coronavirus. I'm so glad that you invited your father to join us. And Dr. Ari, thank you for saying yes to this. And it's just beautiful to have you here with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to join you and answer whatever questions you have.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. So just to begin, I'd like to give a little bit of background to you, to everyone that is watching this. And there could be people from the United States, from Canada, Italy, Sri Lanka, China. So it's going to be quite a global audience joining us. So I know you began as a teaching career, and early on you took 40 students and 12 teachers on an educational tour to an outcast village. And you shared with them your vision of sharing labor, thought, and energy to help develop the village for the awakening of all. And this was the beginning of this incredible movement, this grassroots humanitarian organization that's throughout Sri Lanka, that's been doing amazing work for over 50 years, and the largest non-government movement. And just to take a moment to honor, you've been awarded numerous national and international awards, including in 1996, the Mahatma Gandhi Peace Prize, for your contribution to human well-being and peace. And on behalf of all of us in the Holistic Centers Network, all of us in the centers, just deep appreciation and respect for all that you've dedicated your life to.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now I notice we've prepared some questions, and Charika, I'm so grateful for your preparation for this time that we have together. And I in my research, so you were 17 when Mahatma Gandhi passed away. And if you could just share a few minutes of your inspiration, your life inspiration for this work that you've dedicated your life to.
Well, long before I knew about the existence of Mahatma Gandhi, I started this work because I belong to a Buddhist family, which means Buddha's teaching that we have to look at the entire living world as one family was a thought that impressed me most. In other words, it was the duty of every Buddhist to look at the entire living world as one family and extend loving kindness to all of them and serve the community. So from my childhood at school, I used to be of service to the community in different ways, to my fellow students in different ways. And one day when I was at a railway station, I saw people looking at a newspaper and almost everybody was crying. Then I also started crying because a person called Mahatma Gandhi had died. So this remained in my mind, and later in life, maybe when I was around 20, Now I'm very old, so I'm forgetting the days. I went to India and I couldn't meet Mahatma Gandhi because he was already dead and gone about 10 years before I went to India. But Acharya Vinoba Bhave, Sri Jayaprakash Narayan, and several other great Gandhians were there. I could associate with them, live with them, go on Bhudan Yatra, that is land gift movement with them, visit their centers, and I got a lot of inspiration at that time. By that time, we had started the movement here called the Shramadana movement, gift of labor. And the gift of labor turned out to be the Sarvodaya Shramadana movement after I returned from India. Because Sarvodaya was a word Mahatma Gandhi coined to mean the well-being of all and not the well-being of the majority or minority. So that's how I was inspired by him.
Thank you. That the well-being of all. I think that's just so important now more than ever in this time of the coronavirus, when we're seeing so many people being impacted and thank you. You say you're very old, but you shine so young and so bright too. You have a beautiful radiance. And so Charika, you wrote this poem, The Great Turning, Awakening to a New Reality, that inspired the title of this talk, this conversation between us. What inspired you to write this poem?
Yes, actually, when on the 17th of March, when the government announced that there will be a 24-hour curfew, and none of us thought that it was going to be this for this long, like almost for five weeks now. And what really inspired me to write this, basically two people's teachings inspired me to write this poem. One is my father, Dr. Ari, because the word awakening, I think I must have heard that word from the time I was in my mother's womb, right? And the term great turning is something that I have always been inspired. Whenever in person, I met Joanna Macy and attended her workshops, and whenever I read her writings, this is something she always talks of about a shift from an industrial based society to a life-sustaining society. So she calls great turning to really express this transformation from an industrial based society to a life-sustaining society. So as I was trying to find some breathing space in between, attending to my voluntary, responsibilities, this was something to really find some peace and some calmness within me. I started writing poems. So it was Dr. Ari's, this word awakening, and Joanna Macy's, these teachings surrounding the great turning inspired me to write this poem. Yeah.
Thank you, Charika. And so we have the poem on the website that people might have read before joining this session. I wondered if, I know through this conversation that we're going to cover the different elements of the poem. Would you like just to read the first couple of lines before I then ask Dr. Ari a question?
Yes. From selfish accumulation to selfless giving, nuclear families to extended families, from greed-based lifestyles to needs-based living, from global economy to local economies, from urban development to rural development, from chemical-based agriculture to organic farming, from supermarkets to local vendors and village markets, from high-rise dwellings to modest land-based housing, from market-driven jobs to sustainable livelihood, competition to mutual cooperation, dominance and separation to peaceful coexistence, wrapped in busyness to beauty of sacred silence, big government to a commonwealth of village republics, mundane materialism to the bliss of spiritual living, myth of permanence to reality of impermanence, isolation and dependency to interconnectedness and interdependence of all life. I, me, mine, and we, us, and ours. I, me, and mine to we, us, and ours. Humanity is awakening to a new reality. A revolution of consciousness is in the making. Be a wholehearted participant in this new revolution.
Beautiful. Thank you. It's so powerful. And there's such wisdom. It almost seems so natural, but it's not easy for us to live in this way, but this sense of this turning into this. So Dr. Ari, I've heard that you gave a new meaning to the Sanskrit word savadaya, coined by Mahatma Gandhi, which connects with our today's discussion on awakening to a reality, to a new reality. And we'd like to know, what does awakening mean to you?
You see, Udaya means awakening. And the word Udaya in Sanskrit, Udayam. In Sinhala, Udaya means morning. That means that is the time we wake up. So, Sarva means all. Sarva Udaya is Sarvodaya. That is awakening of all. So, that is a much, much better concept than the democratic concept. Therefore, people have to change their thinking, trying to do service to the majority. Let us learn to do service to all. All should include not only the human beings. As much as human beings have a right to live on this planet, so is the right of all living beings to live on this planet. So the important thing is living beings, human beings, being the most advanced thinking beings, they should be able to accommodate everybody in such a way that they can live together in nature without harming anybody. But last 300-400 years, since our industrial revolution started, what happened was we became so selfish, either as individuals or families, or as companies, or groups, or religious or otherwise organizations. We became so selfish, which means there was greed at the bottom of it. Then this greed naturally led to competition, and this competition led to a lot of ill will and anger. This led to the creation of a world where every nation thought the more weapons we have to destroy others, the better developed we are. So this entire consciousness has to change. Now the whole world has realized nobody can escape this unseen coronavirus. Everybody is affected equally. America is no exception. America is paying the highest price in spite of the so-called scientific and technological development. So the time has come where people have to think again, think anew, and think of a philosophy where well-being of all, including animals as well as nature, is protected. So that all living things on earth has to be protected, and with that, on that condition only, every other industry or agriculture or whatever other things you do have to be done. So this is the time for that, and I don't think anybody can reverse this trend. I don't think anybody trying to get back to the old system of trade. or industry or employment or anything can succeed. We have to think anew, and that's what is called a great turning point, and where an awakening of the human being is necessary first. Because we humans, the greatest power we have is in our mind. If in our mind we can get rid of selfishness, we can get rid of ill will, we can get rid of ignorance, and fill up our mind with loving kindness, and fill our mind with compassion, fill our mind with compassionate action, fill our mind with cooperation and not competition. That way, if we have a mind and a heart which is embracing the entire living world, then such human beings, mind force, universally can become what we call a critical mass of spiritual consciousness. The spiritual consciousness, when it's created as a critical mass, the rest of humanity, whose personality has not embraced this kind of idea, will also begin to think of the well-being of all, not only the well-being of their the shareholders or families or companies. That's why I consider that this poem that Charika has written embraces everything we should do. Now we have been talking about a global village. Actually, there was no global village. What was there was those countries like the United States who mastered science and technology could control the entire human world and call it a global village. But the village people suffered. They lost their ancient values, they lost their livelihood, they lost whatever products they had for their own consumption. They got into a market economy and they got into a mess. So that now the time has come where we can convert the entire world into a real commonwealth of village republics or community republics. So now the development should start awakening the community. First the human being, the personality. When human personality awakens, personality of the family awakens. When the families awaken, the communities awaken. When the communities awaken, the nations, and the nations awaken, the world awakens. Then all this money spent on advertising, all this money spent on arms production, all this money spent for unnecessary satisfaction of five senses, all can be saved. And that can be utilized for the spiritual well-being of every human being. So I think it is very, very important we understand that the coronavirus has opened, given an opportunity to think anew and build a new world, beginning with a new man, new family, new community, new nation, and new world.
Thank you. So really reaffirming that this awakening starts within each one of us and then ripples out through our family, through our village, through our community, through our nation, into the world. And Joanna Macy in this term, you know, for decades, you know, a new turning, the great turning. And it feels like, you know, within this coronavirus, it's an incredible crisis for the world, but there's such an incredible opportunity for this awakening and this embracing of the well-being of all of humanity, all beings, all nature, all species. So thank you for giving us that incredible overview and perspective. And thank you also, Charika, for putting the images on the screen. I don't know if you can change that to full view. And then while you're doing that, Charika, so I know that during this time of the COVID that you've been volunteering to share the responsibility with Sarvodaya, the welfare arm, to attend to the emergencies of these 12 residential care facilities, caring for over 200 infants, children, senior citizens, women with disabilities. And I know the grassroots work, I mean, it's throughout Sri Lanka. I mean, the initiatives that the movement touches is many, many thousands of people. But would you like to share some stories with us about selfless giving, which is such a part of this movement?
Yes, you know, every human being spends a lot of time to satisfy whatever the mind, whatever the eyes or ears or nose or tongue or the body or the mind desires. In other words, we are full of desires to satisfy our five senses. Now, if we can be a little bit unselfish and leave some time to be of help to people who are in need, then that is the beginning of a new life in any human being. Human life is useless if it is self-centered. Human beings become more and more valuable to human society, the extent to which they give up their ego, give up their selfishness, and try to dedicate themselves to human society. Now, in my life, both materially, spiritually, socially, and otherwise, I may have helped tens of thousands of people in Sri Lanka as well as other countries. And I get a great detached joy when I think of the services I could render to them. But materially, I have nothing. Though I earned many millions from all over the world, I never used them for myself or my children or my family. I used them for the well-being of the poorest of the poor, to make everybody that I know happy. Therefore, I know, now today at 89 years, I'm about to enter 90. So 89 years, I'm the happiest man on earth, I think. I have nothing material. So every human being should think that amassing wealth, you are not going to take it to the other world. But you amass what you call non-greed, non-ill will, and enlightenment, that will be with you for many more lives to come. It is very foolish to think that this life is the only life. No. We have lived in the past in many forms. Practically every animal we have seen, we have been. And then now this birth, we are human beings. And that is the only existence, the human existence, is the only one where you have a mind which can be developed to perfect enlightenment to understand the entire reality of the world. And then we call it a Buddha. So human life should not be wasted simply to eat, drink, dress properly, have big houses and big cars. All that is very temporary, because there is nothing that is permanent in this life. Everything is subject to change. Therefore, we as human beings should understand that there is a life beyond materialism, beyond all these things that we see around us. There is something what we may call spiritual. So that I think time has come for a new spiritual awakening in the world.
Absolutely. And this shift of, there's been such a focus on the materialism world, the world developing based on materialism and the greed that you spoke of, but this need for this reawakening of spiritual values. And when you were talking about the selfless giving, and I was reminded of, our holistic centers here in the West, which so many have been influenced by Eastern values. So you have karma yoga, of selfless service. And at Findhorn, for example, in Scotland, we talk about love in action. so that what we're doing is we're pouring our heart, our love, our generosity, our care into all that we do. And one of the gifts, I think, of this virus that we're seeing is that there is a huge movement of generosity. And may that continue to ripple and increase. And Charika, I know that you do incredible volunteer work there in Sri Lanka. Could you share with us a little? You work with holistic approach to motherhood, caring for the unborn child, and also children who are teenage mothers. Could you share with us some stories of your work?
Yes, actually, after the 15th of March, we had very little time to get ourselves organized to face the crisis, because our Sarvodaya welfare arm is called Sarvodaya Suasita. Suasita it's an approved charity in Sri Lanka, and it has 13 residential care facilities in 5 districts and in 3 provinces. So we have infants, children, teenage mothers, senior citizens, women with disabilities. So we had basically just about 48 hours or so to get everything organized and to ensure that these children, these elders, and also the caregivers are taken care of during this crisis period. So for me, it was because in a crisis like this, you can't, have like 10, 20 people handling the crisis. Like you have to have, so we teamed up about, 3, 4 people, divided among ourselves the kind of responsibilities we are going to share. So for me, something beautiful emerged in this whole exercise. While attending to all these emergencies, I saw how caring, how generous our caregivers were, and the kind of selfless service they were offering to the infants, and they were quite confident that they can handle. And usually they go home every month to their loved ones to just take a break every month. But since 15th of March, they have been working 24/7 a week, and just trying to. So I felt like, because I felt, they are not really doing a job. They are really, although they are getting a kind of a salary, they are not really working. They are giving, sharing their labor. That's dana. They are caring. They are sharing their love and affection, and they are protecting these children under very difficult circumstances. So I saw the generosity, the compassionate hearts of our caregivers. And at the same time, I saw we were so fortunate to experience how the ordinary villagers, there was a small, interval of about 8 hours or so, where the government relaxed the curfew and allowed people to attend to whatever urgent needs. And it was after, I think, 2 weeks or so, government relaxed for a couple of hours. And in spite of, attending to their own personal kind of work, people rush to, these child care institutions and elderly care facilities with, food items, dry rations, milk, rice, sugar, so it's not the monetary value of those, whatever gifts we received, the elders and the children received. It's the spirit in which, that they didn't think, I have just couple of hours to buy my medicine or my groceries. That's the last thing that you would expect ordinary people to think of a children's home or an elder's home in their respective village. So I think that's something that, I found quite difficult to even believe that people can have such big hearts and such compassionate hearts. So that really gave us so much, energy to continue whatever we were whatever the work we were sharing, and to date we shoulder those responsibilities. Yes.
That's so beautiful, that loving heart, that care and compassion shining forth and guiding the way. Thank you, Charika. And I've heard you speak of villages, and your father was speaking of villages, and Dr. Ari, so the world is realizing the need to make local communities more self-reliant. I mean, there's certainly been a movement the last few decades in the US and Europe, and the global eco-village network. So people living more in communities, more living in connection with each other and with nature. So Salvador has been advocating a concept called Grama Swaraya. I'm not quite sure the pronunciation. So this Commonwealth of Village Republics that you referred to before, could you share more with us about what you mean by that, and how we can learn more from that concept as well?
Sarvodaya movement 6 decades ago identified what we call 10 basic human needs. Because human life can be based on human needs or greed. So the whole world seems to be going towards organizing greed.
Yeah.
So what we call economy is organized greed. So we wanted to have some organized need program. Among the needs, I remember I got 600 people together who have had not higher education but general education. 600 of them. And these 600 people were asked to write down what their basic needs were. So they wrote down the first basic need. The highest number of people wanted environment to be the first need. Clean and beautiful environment. Clean drinking water. Adequate food. Clothing, food. Then simple housing, basic healthcare, basic communication facilities, energy requirements, then total education, then satisfaction of spiritual, cultural, and spiritual needs, spiritual, cultural, and moral needs. Now look, these 10 basic human needs, we subdivided into about, not we, the village communities, subdivided into about 300 sub-needs. That means there was enough work to do within the village. From children to the adults, everybody could participate in a program to produce things that satisfied their needs and not their greed. If there was an excess in what they produce, more than what the village needs, they could get it into the market. That way, from bottom up, we wanted to have an economic system where there was self-sufficiency with regard to the basic needs first. All these needs could be satisfied with the available resources in the village. Now, we have practiced this in thousands of villages. Of course, we are doing this against the normal trend of organized markets and all that. It's not easy because the mainstream is against this kind of thing. Mainstream is that global village, as if we can get everything we need. It's all wrong. So now there's a great turning where people have to turn back to what we have been doing. So we have instructed all our villagers which have been going on this idea of self-governance, for them to now reactivate this whole thing again in a new light, new way, new methodology, because now we are having a very advanced communication system. Use all that and try to make the village the foundation for a global economy or a national economy. So these days we are very much at work. And then once you have the economy in the proper order, then comes the political part. We need not have power and party politics where people get divided and fight one another. Instead, we can have a consensual kind of politics. Consensual politics is possible. And that is the kind of politics we had before we went under the British and the foreign powers. Those days, we had the self-governance program, and the villagers got together in an area, and those areas were subdivided, and ultimately we had this national government headed by a royalty or whoever. Still the freedom was at the village level. But after 1948, after we got independent, this party and power political system destroyed that village structure. So now the time has come to restart it. And if we can have 35,000 villages in our country organized into this kind of village self-governance program, politically, economically based on certain moral, cultural, spiritual values, then together we can tell the world every country should get organized into a commonwealth of community republics. So these are ideas that can be worked out. They don't remain as mere dreams. Now in about 3,000 villages, we practiced and we showed this could be done. And it could be, we extended it to about 5,200 villages out of about 16,000 villages we are working in the country. That is about half the number of villages in the country. So these things are possible. Only thing is the government and rulers and aid givers, they all must understand the importance of other ways of doing things rather than this selfish, competitive way of improving an economy or building societies.
Yeah, you've really demonstrated how it's possible to organize on a large scale and meet the needs of the people. And this sense of from the greed to meeting the basic needs, all of our human needs, this shift from competition to cooperation. And here I'm certainly seeing, you know, there is this return. It's like society has advanced so much with technology and science. In many ways that's positive, but this need to return back to the simplicity of being able to grow our own food and know our neighbors and care for each other. And Charika, you visited, like you've grown up, you're in your father's wisdom, you've forged your path and made your contribution in this incredible way. You've visited many of the centers, like you've visited Omega, you've visited Hollyhock, you've been to Findhorn. Well, how can we there's a bridge here, I think, between what we're offering and what you're offering. And I'd love to hear from you, like, what words, like, what more, how do our centers need to shift to respond to the needs of their times? What's our role, as well as Vishwa Niketan's role? Because I know we're coming towards the end of our conversation here, but I would love to hear your thoughts around that.
Yes, actually, I feel like when I visited Omega, when I visited Hollyhock, you know, we all share the same spiritual kind of commitment, same spiritual values to uplift the lives of people in our world. I think we have this common shared vision, and the way that we try, the kind of programs work that we do to, you know, reach that shared vision is maybe different. But I think that if I may recall, like in 2018, we were in the middle of a crisis uh, while we were, meeting at Omega, because there was this, volcanic eruption in Hawaii, and we were
Yes.
all, there for Joel, and everybody
Yes.
shared whatever the pain and, the anguish, everything. In 2019, everybody shared their love, affection, and support to me and towards Sri Lanka, when Sri Lanka had experienced this very unfortunate Easter Sunday attack. And imagine in 2020, it's not Hawaii, it's not Sri Lanka, it's, if we are all in the same predicament. So I think the time has come for us to really see how best to reach out to our communities. We have, if we take Vishwaniketan, Vishwaniketan has developed over 2 decades spiritual programs for pregnant mothers and their spouses. We have developed programs for hardcore prisoners. We have developed psychospiritual healing programs for girl child victims of violence and sexual abuse. We have developed programs for children coming from ordinary family backgrounds, make them conscious of their own, their feelings, their emotions, and their own, whatever the inner world. And also at the same time, how to be mindful of the feelings and emotions and the problems of their immediate family and the community and the environment as a whole. So Vishwaniketan's message, healing the mind, healing society, healing the environment. We have developed, practical programs to reach out to from fetuses to senior citizens. So I think time has come for us to take this package, the spiritual sort of message, this very, not a passive message, an active, doable message. So I think we really, each center has to come up with a concrete kind of program of action to reach out to the communities. Instead of people coming towards the towards these centers, the time has come for us to reach out to the outer world. Yes. So it's going to be hard, because this is a new normal. So we really need to adapt different methodologies, different techniques. But I hope this technology is so important. But technology, prior to COVID, technology also divided people to a certain extent. I think we really also desperately need person to person, heart to heart, mind to mind, human interaction as well, because you simply cannot allow a lifeless machine to control our lives. So I think it's quite a challenge to get the best out of cutting edge science, but at the same time not to allow the cutting edge science to destroy the true human spirit and true human interaction. The importance should not be underestimated. Yeah, that's what I need. I really need to share with all our brothers and sisters from across the world, with whom I shared some precious, time, both at Omega and at Hollyhock. Yes.
Thank you for your words, Charika. There's a sense of, it's an incredible blessing that we can connect in this way via Zoom, and technology serves us, but we need that human heart-to-heart personal connection, but we need our kind of spiritual values to sustain us through these times when we're in the lockdown. And then hearing, it's what we share is holistic education, the well-being of the whole person. And I really agree with you, like the centers, they've been places of privilege for many years, and although they offer incredible programming and do outreach, it's now more how is the education that we offer reaching out and serving the communities around us, rather than those that just come to the centers. And I was on a call the other week, one of our community calls, and there was a sense of like really true inclusion. It's not about coming over to my house, but it's like, let's build this house together for the well-being of all of us and really caring for the world around us. So we're coming towards the end of our conversation. I just again want to express my gratitude, Dr. Ari, for you, to Charika for you for arranging this, for sharing your inspiration, your wisdom, your incredible life experience, for inspiring us. And know that although we can't meet in person this year, we will hold the vision that that will be possible again. And may this awakening just gain its momentum, and may we all feel supported in serving that what wants to emerge in this time for the benefit of all. So
Thank you very much, Christine.
Thank you.
May you be well, happy and peaceful. Stay safe.
Thank you. Dr. Ari, any closing words from you?
Well, I would finally say, a lot of people will try to rebuild what have been totally destroyed during the last few weeks. They will try to redo the same thing, maybe from the time this virus disappears. That can never be done. I like to warn them, international leaders who manage politics and economics, and also the United Nations people who decide for us in the world, to think anew, think a different kind of society, different kind of politics, different kind of economics, different kind of human relations, different kind of peacekeeping without armies and all these weapons. They have to think completely anew if we are to survive as a human race, as well as if we are to survive as a living species or the living world, and also the environment. So thank you very much for this opportunity that I got just to come out and share some of my thoughts. I'm a I'm a person who looks forward very much for something good to happen. I don't think this will be an end to humanity. This will be a new beginning to the entire living world. Yeah. So that's my wish. I have very positive thinking on that. Yeah. May all the living beings be well and happy. Thank you very much for organizing this.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you both.